Today we're going to talk about the man who played an important part in the discovery of America by Europeans. He was not, of course, the person who actually discovered America for the first time. When he got there were already people living there, the native people. But he was the person who brought America to the attention of Europe. His name was Christopher Columbus, and he was born in 1451 in Genoa, which today is in Italy. Over his life he made 4 journeys across the Atlantic Ocean, and his discoveries made Europe realize that there was another continent that they hadn't known about, America. We don't know a lot about his childhood, but he must have been quite well educated because he could speak a few different languages. When he was young, he got a job on a ship and sailed around trading with different places. In 1470, his ship was attacked by pirates. His ship was destroyed and it sank, but Columbus managed to get back to land by holding onto a piece of wood and floating back. After this adventure, he went to Lisbon, the capital of Portugal. Here he started studying all the things he would need to know for a major journey around the world: mathematics, astronomy, maps, and navigation. During the time that Columbus lived, different European countries were just starting to explore the world. At the time, nobody really knew what the rest of the world was like. Portugal was the first country to start really exploring the world, and they made journeys to Africa and Asia. Spain was the next big country to take part, and they too wanted to know what was out there in the world. At this time, nobody knew that America existed. They only knew about Europe, Africa, and Asia. However, by the end of the 15th century, it was very difficult to go from Europe to Asia by land. It was a long, difficult, expensive, and dangerous journey. Portugal was the first country to realize that it would be faster, easier, cheaper, and safer to get there by sea. They started sailing around the south of Africa, and then around India, and finally to Asia. Although this was much better than going across land, Columbus thought he had an idea that could make the journey even faster. He thought that instead of sailing east around Africa, he would try sailing west. He knew that the earth was round, so he thought that if he just sailed out west into the open ocean, he would eventually reach Asia. Columbus had to get money to pay for this expedition. He had to pay for the ships, food, men, and so on. He went to the king or the government in a few different countries to try and get enough money. He first tried Portugal and England, but it was Spain that finally agreed to help pay for the journey. In 1492, Columbus and more than 100 men set sail from Spain in 3 different ships. The journey took 5 weeks, much longer than Columbus had thought. During this time, many of his men died from disease or from hunger and thirst. But finally the ships did reach land. Not in Asia as Columbus had thought, but in a new part of the world. They had arrived at the islands that today we call the Caribbean. He had discovered a new continent, not known to Europe at that time. His discovery would start an interest in this new land back home in Europe, and eventually it would lead to the colonization of America by Europeans. The Spanish and Portuguese would colonize South America, and Britain would colonize North America. However, although we say Columbus discovered America, this isn't really true. There were already people living there when he got there, the native people. In fact, the arrival of Columbus was not good news for these people, as the Europeans brought new diseases and would later colonize their land. Columbus probably wasn't even the first European to visit America either. About 500 years earlier, some people in northern Europe called the Vikings probably got there first. but their journey had been forgotten by the time Columbus lived. It was Christopher Columbus that brought America to the attention of Europe, and Columbus's journey that started European interest in the continent. His discovery of America is surely one of the most important events in world history.